Hello, everybody. My name is Frank Whalen. I am the CEO of ehired.com. Thank you for joining our webinar today. We're going to go over some of the highlights and features of the software and how this can be used to support your career service efforts, mainly your gainful employment compliance efforts, your WIOA compliance efforts, help with placement, and obviously help with just putting students in touch with and in the best possible position to go out and get jobs when they are through the program. The way eHired works is, eHired is primarily just a regular job board, just like CareerBuilder, Indeed, and any of the other large job boards that are out there. At any given time, there's thousands of people on the site, either searching for jobs, posting jobs, doing traditional what has always been traditional job board activity. With eHired, we took it a step further and focused it more on the education side of the industry. And how that works is every member school is given a username and password, a login. And what happens is, when you log into your school's account, what eHired does is, and this is my school, I am a school owner. Besides owning eHired, I own ASI Career Institute. We are located in southern New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. I've been a private vocational school owner for about 10 years now, so it's been an amazing ride, helped a lot of folks, and it's a fantastic industry. eHired came about as a necessity in the private vocational world. Placement counts, results driven. Students have to get jobs once they come through their program. That's how we make our reputation better every day. Is when students come through, they go out, they get hired. That's a good thing, and and we can continue on with that trend. So eHired was developed to help with that eventual very positive outcome. And how eHired works, is we take a school's programs, and this is a demo account I've set up for this webinar. And by the way, this webinar is being recorded, so if you have any questions, concerns, I will send you the webinar after it is over, but please hold your questions till the end, just jot them down, and once we stop recording, then I will open it up to questions, just so no one feels uncomfortable that they're going to be on tape. But so I'm going to run through this, and I'm going to show you, break it down into kind of 2 or 3 major sections. First thing I'm going to do is show you how it works. What does eHired do from the software side that schools are using? Second thing is I'm going to run through and I'm going to show you the features and functions that are available to you, school administrators, when you log into your account. And third, I want to show you the students interface, what your students will see when they go on to eHired. So I've already explained, like I said, this came about because I still am presently a school owner. Have been in the business for about 10 years, and I understand, I'm in your shoes. I understand that placement is paramount, to our survival. Students come in, they get jobs in the field. That's how we keep going. We keep doing a fantastic job. Our training is great. Now let's just tighten up our placement end, our career service end, and our industry will continue to do very well. So, like I said, ASI Career Institute is my school. What eHired does is we take a school's programs. So here are a list of programs. Some of these are taught at my school, others are not. Again, this is just a sample that I'm using for this webinar. So we're going to run through. Here are a selection of programs. What eHired does is we take every school's programs, and we have 2-year colleges, we have 4-year colleges, we have private vocational, we have public colleges, continuing education programs, we have the federal government using us at different programs. So we take whatever that program is that is being taught. What we then do is we match that program. And as you guys know, every program, there are certain job titles that if a student gets a job, it has to be, training related, has to be work related, and there are job titles that apply to every one of these programs. What we do is we go out and by SOC code, we find all those job titles that count as a good or a good placement for a particular program. And the example of what that is not a good placement would be someone going to truck driving school, getting a job working the counter at 7-Eleven. That's not a placement. Somebody going to truck driving school and getting a driving a truck for 7-Eleven, that's good. That's a good placement. Same company, different titles, different SOC codes for that job, that's considered a placement. Okay, so just to give you an idea, that's where, kind of coming from the school background, where I kind of have a little, intimate knowledge of how important it is that the job, it's one thing that somebody got a job, after they finish, but it has to be in the related field. So what eHired does that's a little bit different is we search all the jobs related to a particular program that your students will qualify for. We bring them back in, and we do this on the web 24/7. our software is always going and looking in real time for when a job is posted, that if you have a medical assisting program, if a medical assistant job pops up within a set radius of any one of your students' homes, because every single job is radius mapped to every single individual student in your school. If that job pops up, it is pulled into our server and is distributed back out to that student within 24 hours. That student is getting that job in their inbox. So it's very important, to get the jobs to the students quickly, exactly for what they went to school for, and in a radius that'll work for them. If you have a student that does not drive, maybe they only want jobs, 5 miles from their home, someplace where maybe they can take a bike or get a ride, or or public transportation, whatever it might be. Or you have a student. I have online students. I have many online students that live in very sparsely populated areas. They think of nothing of driving 50, 60 miles to work every day. Just not a lot of traffic, I guess, and they can make just as good a time as I can here in the Philadelphia area. Driving 10 miles, they can drive 50 miles type of thing. So, but what happens is we take a school's programs, and I'm going to use medical assisting as an example. A school gives us their programs. They send us what programs they're teaching. We take all those programs and put them into our database. After that, we work with the school. The school tells us all the credentials that are assigned to that program. So it could be something as simple as a certificate of completion, or it could be maybe some type of licensing, a state or a federal license that they receive at the completion of the program, or when they take a test after the program. Whatever that credential or certification is, we assign that to a school's program. So like medical assisting, and here at the school, it's HIPAA, they get CCMA, CET, life support, phlebotomy, that kind of stuff. We then assign the skills that that school teaches in that program. And every program, particularly vocational schools, if you're going to school for medical assisting, you learn anatomy, you learn phlebotomy, you learn EKG. If you're going to school for culinary, maybe you learn, how to saute and how to fry and dice and carve and knife and, and do all that kind of stuff. Whatever those skills are, we list them under the skills and talents of a particular program. We then, this last step here is we put it together into a template. And this template can be changed by you guys at any given time. It's a kind of a living software document that you guys can sign into and change. And I'll show you where this template comes into play a little bit later in the presentation. But for right now, this is what we do when a school comes on board. And we are starting off the process of setting up their database. We get all their programs, we get whatever credentials or certifications come with a particular program, and whatever skills are aligned with that program, and we put that all together. The next step we do is we take a school's students. Now this is a sample database I put here. You see there's all types of students. Some of these, I think I have one live student in here that I use for a demonstration, but these are all sample students that I pulled and then can put together the data and different things like that. So what happens now is we take a school, once we set up all the school's programs and we match all their programs by SOC code job titles, what we then do is the school sends us a database. And this can be in the form of a spreadsheet, a CSV spreadsheet, whatever, however they want to do it. They'll send us either a list of, any number from 50 to 5,000 students, whatever it is. That can be an unlimited number. And all that information for every student has information very similar to this. It'll have the student's email address, their first and last name, their zip code, preferably a phone number, and I'll show you where that comes into play. A phone number just makes it a little more convenient for you. Whatever program the student is taking at your school, okay, and some other information here. If your school has a student ID system, we would want that information. It makes it a little easier for you guys to search your students in the database. If the student is graduated, if they're enrolled, if they're just a prospective student, whatever that might be. Grad date, generally when a student enrolls or you put them in the database, you know when they're going to graduate. So you want to put that in there. The admissions officer, if they have one, if somebody actually helped them through the admission, the registrar, the career service person. This is the person at your school, the career service officer right here. I'll highlight that. Not that one, just the top one there. Career service. In my case, at my school, my career service person is Mr. Ed Danzy. He is my lead career service person, career service officer. He's responsible for basically overseeing all the students and how they're doing with their resumes and job hunting and following up with them, that kind of thing. So you want to put that information in there in the spreadsheet. And career counselor, this right here is for all you WIOA schools out there, anyone that has to answer to any type of county or local government funding source. Maybe some schools call them agencies, whatever the case may be. You can put whoever is referring that student to your school, whoever is funding that student, whether it be a counselor at the county or or whatever the case may be. Whoever is sponsoring that student, you can put that student's name in there. And that is all information that we would get in a spreadsheet for all the students that a school wants to start off with the program. And we load all that in there in a bulk upload format. Now what happens is once this is all set up and we know now all the programs are set up and we now have all the school students aligned to a program. So you might have 10 students taking culinary, 50 students taking truck driving, 10 taking medical assistant, whatever that case may be. They're all now aligned by a program. And we set all this up for free. There's no charge for any of this. Starting the very next day, all the students in your database get job leads emailed to them. Okay, and the job leads look just like this. And here's, you can do a custom banner ad across the top of the email with your school's logo and all this kind of stuff right there. Okay, you can put your own subject line in there. You can put your own body of the email in there. But the main idea of this email is every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, your students are getting job leads, open job opportunities, all matched exactly by SOC code. So you know every job that's going out to them will count as a good placement because they're only getting the good jobs sent to them. All of them set within whatever radius they want from their home. Okay, so pretty straightforward stuff. You know, there's lots of job boards out there that will send you jobs every day. What we do that's a little bit different at eHired is this goes out to students, 8 to 10 jobs a day. This is what's here. Whenever a student clicks on, touches, engages, whatever you want to say, applies for any of these jobs, at the very same time, as soon as they click this link, the school gets notified that one of their students is applying for a job. And that email looks just like this. So in real time, if you have job leads going out to students at 9 o'clock in the morning, your career service person, if they're sending it out to a student and that student gets that job and says, oh, that looks like a good job, I'm going to click on that, I want to apply for that job. That school, whoever is designated that career service person for that student at that school, or the administrator, whatever it is, they will immediately get an email saying that one of their students is applying for a job. And the nice part about this is that career service person can click right here and see the exact same screen that that student is looking at. In real time, they can call that student up and talk them through that application process. Instantly, like that, it can be done. That is a fantastic tool. Your county folks, your students love it. Any type of auditor or anyone that can come in and ask, what are you doing for career services for schools, will be pretty darn impressed that at any time you know exactly what all your students are doing as far as applying for jobs. So it takes career services, and the students don't have to be sitting in your computer lab or in your career services office. They can be at home. They can be, you know, in another part of the country. You know, if you are a school that has a career service center and you deal with online students all across the country, when a student opens a job, you're located in Tampa, Florida, and you have students in Chicago. When that student applies for a job in their hometown of Chicago, your career service folks, who's ever responsible for that, is getting this email instantly and can look at that job in Chicago and talk that student through that application in real time. So it's a really great, really powerful feature. Coming back the other way, I mentioned that we prepare a template for all your students. What that template looks like, or how it is used, is right here. Every student in the system gets right over here, they get a profile. These are live profiles. This is what's happening right now. So that template we made up gets transferred over to here. So if any employer goes in and they are searching for medical assistants in Philadelphia, all the profiles of all the medical assistants in Philadelphia will pop up. And here are just some random, I'm going to blow this up a little bit for you so you can see it a little bit better. Here are profiles. Now you notice they all have a stock image. Most of them do. Stock image, some don't. Some have uploaded their personal photo. You know, it says their industry, their availability, their salary, whatever their certification is. This person was in the Navy for a number of years, has 2 certifications. You can click, an employer can click here and view her resume. Here are her skills and talents. And this is searched every day by employers out looking for folks across the country. Now what happens is, if one of your students is found by an employer and they say, you know, I need to hire somebody in this area, you know, for administration. If that employer clicks that contact me button, your career service person, your school, now gets an email that looks exactly like this. Let me bring this email up and make it a little bigger here. This email now says the student's contact information, pardon me, and the employer's email address. So what you can do is you guys as career service or school administrators can let that student know, hey, someone's trying to contact you to maybe look at your resume, maybe set up an interview, whatever that case may be. So you can kind of give them the heads up to make sure their phone is turned on or they're accepting calls, whatever the case may be. And also, you have the email of the person that's contacting them. So you now have that employer's email that you can reach out to them and say, hey, if you like Joe or Jane or Bill or whatever the case may be, hire them. They're fantastic, but let's plan on maybe talking a little bit later about some more resumes I can send over. Or, you know, would you like to go to lunch? I'd like to know your needs as an employer because we do training in your neighborhood. We can, you know, maybe we can help you with some different students. In career services, and you guys all know this, it's all about communication. If you're not talking with a student or sitting with a student, you should be talking with an employer, a vendor, a staffing company about trying to, you know, definitely bridge that gap between students and employment. So this is a great way to kind of put the school, you guys as career service folks, in the middle of the coming and the going. You know every time a student applies for a job, and you know every time an employer is investigating a student, looking at a potential candidate. It's just a great way to put yourself in the middle. It gives you a very powerful tool. I can tell you students appreciate it immensely that they now know that you guys are with them pretty much all the time. So if they're sitting home doing something and they're stuck or whatever the case may be, you know, maybe the phone will ring and you guys will call them up and say, hey, I see you're looking at that job. Let's do that application together. It's just a great tool to have available to you. Now, that's kind of the main idea of what eHire does. It matches students with jobs and employers and puts you guys, school administrators, right in the middle. Now what I want to do here is I want to show you some of the features that are available. Let me get the sizing just right. To you guys as school administrators. So like I said, every school gets a username, password, and login that all the administrators can use. There's no limit on the number of seat licenses or how many users from a school administration standpoint can have. Actually, everything's unlimited. You could put in 50 students or 50,000 students, and you could have 10 administrators, you could have 10,000 administrators. We don't limit that at all, the number of users and the folks coming and going out of the system for every school. So the way this works is now, you've seen the basics of what we're doing. Now, for you guys, some of the tools you have available as school administrators are, you can log in, very easy to do, and you can go to school students. Like I said, I have a sample database set up here. I'm going to use my AAA resume. You can go through and search any of your students in your school, anything by program, by name, by student ID, by their graduation date, whatever it is, you can do a search and come up with who you're looking for. I'm going to use my easy resume guy as an example here. So you can click on that student, and this is what the info will pop up, basic info to start out with, his email, his first, last name, or her first, last name, phone number preferably, their program they've taken, if they have any of these folks, if they have a career service officer, and I'll show you how easy it is to modify this. We're going to make Ed as career service officer, and we're going to make Erica Sanchez and Tina Casanova. Very easy to do. Let's set a graduation date. We want to do something like that. Very easy to do. We can set all that up. Simple. And this is all the information you see on the information page. And I'm going to work my way right across these tabs just to give you guys just kind of a sampling of some of the features that are available. Now there's lots of features over here that I'm not going to go into right now just so I can kind of keep this fairly short. I don't want to take up too much of your time. And we'll open it up to Q&A when we're done. So just keep writing down your questions, and once we're over, I'll shut off the recording, and then we can go through some questions and answers. But the next tab is profile. That profile that we set up, this is where that comes into play. And this is a profile that you guys can see. If you need to edit this profile, and the example being, this is you guys as school administrators. And the example is, let's say you have a student that they took culinary, and they know ice sculpting, but nobody else, you guys don't teach ice sculpting, but this particular student knows it because they worked at their uncle's restaurant and he taught them ice sculpting. If you wanted to, you could edit this profile and add ice sculpting in there if this was a culinary student. You can manage the student's certifications. Let's say a student hasn't passed HIPAA yet and you want to take that off there, because we set these profiles up at the program level. So we set them up for a general population, but you guys can drill down and adjust these by student, okay? Upload profile picture right here. You notice everybody gets a stock image of whatever their industry or field is related to. Some schools on the first day of class, when they come in, they take a picture of them for their their badge or their student ID, that type of stuff. If you want to upload that photo, you can. You leave it as the stock image. We encourage students to upload a photo. Some schools, particularly the vocational schools, like we have one girl, she put up pictures of cupcakes and cake decorating for all her students in this culinary class. Whatever dessert or they made, they use that as their photo image. So it's a good thing to do. You can upload a resume. If your school writes traditional Word document resumes, you can upload them there. You can view a student's resume if it's uploaded. Now going right over here, this feature is something that we developed, and the idea with this is this came about from, we had member schools coming to us and saying, we need something with, do you have any type of resume format or anything like that, any templates we can use? And what we came up with is, since we know all this information, we have a little objective blurb here, we know their salary, we know their skills and talents, we know their certifications, and we also know their name and their contact information, that kind of thing. We took all that and we make it into a resume right here. I'm going to remove this item real quick. This is the way the resume comes cold. I want to blow this up for you so you can see it. And what I mean by cold is all this is pre-populated right there. Their name, their contact. This objective right here is right from underneath their photo. All their highlights are from right here in the skills and talents. Their education we know because we know what their member school is. Okay. Now, what we've done is we've partnered with the Department of Labor, onetlive.org, through an API to be able to complete this resume very, very quickly. And I'm going to do this one time and narrate it to kind of show you what I'm doing along the way. Then I'm going to show you the second time without narration to show you how quick it is to complete a resume. So I'll start with the narration. Student comes in your office and says, I need a resume. I need a resume. I came to your school. You promised me a resume. Let's all get resumes. And it's just good practice to know that all your students have real good resumes out there. By the way, there's templates over here that you can choose. You can mouse over, choose whatever template you like. I particularly like this one right here with the highlights. But you can use whatever one you want. Now, to complete this resume, to finish this resume, you have to put in some work experience, right? That would be pretty much the next step. So what you would want to do is click over here. Let me shrink this down so it works real well here. You want to go over here to Work Experience, add a new item, and I always use the same example just because it's convenient, is Pizza Hut. And you worked in, let's say, Tampa, because I enjoy going to Tampa, Florida, okay? Now what happens here is, what we found is that entry-level students, and this is from feedback from our schools that use the system, a lot of students, they know where they worked, and they generally know what they did. They don't always know what their official job title was. They, maybe it just wasn't something where there was a real elaborate orientation process, and they didn't really have a job title. It was just kind of, this is what we need you to do. So what you can do is have the student put in what they think their job title was, as close as they can get. And I use Pizza Hut for an example, and that's a real world example. We had a student, well, I counted money and I made change and I cashed out the drawer at the end of the night, or they did things like that. So I wasn't really a hostess, but I did seat people, and they went around a little bit. So we said, let's go with cashier. So we go with cashier, and if you go over here to this little gray dot over there, little gray box right here, I want to see if I can blow that up a little bit for you. That little gray box right there, if you click on that, what happens is, if you click on that, there we go, what happens is you get brought to the Standard Occupational System of the United States Government, Department of Labor. And what it does is it lists everything kind of similar to like what a cashier might do in different venues and different settings. If you click on cashier now, let me shrink this down so you can see it all on one page. It now puts everything a cashier at Pizza Hut would do. And you can now just click through, pop them in, pick whatever dates that the student worked. That's another challenge. Sometimes students don't always know exactly when they worked. But you can drill that down as best you can and click add. Right there, you now have work experience. So I narrated that to give you an idea, how simple that was. Now what I want to do is I want to do it this time without the narration to show you how quick this can be done. Add new item. And this is what you folks would be doing with, and students have also access to this also. So if you needed a student sitting across the desk from you and they said, I want a resume, this is what you would do once you found out where they worked. Okay, and I'm doing this without narration just to show you how quick it can be done. And then you would pick boom, 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 and pick some dates, trying to do this as best I can here. Going through and add. And there we go. And this resume is now well on its way to being completed. And even with narration, it still took a lot faster than it did by writing it. And you can move sections around. If you want to list, let's see, references, you can pop references in there. You can do that. You can do all types of things. You can change the font, you can change the color, you can change the style. When it's all set, you save it to their profile, and it is ready to go. And they have a working resume all set up. So that's how quick you can build a resume with eHired, because we know all this information going in. So that's the second tab across here, some of the information you guys have access to as school administrators. And I'll show you the students also have access to all this, but we kind of limit we don't give them too much leeway. We try to, they're your students. You can, try and keep them keep them corralled a little bit as far as not doing anything that would be detrimental to their job search. But working my way across these tabs here as school administrators, there's a school leads tab. If for some reason you want to suspend a student's job lead for whatever reason, I don't know, you can. You can customize the job search. Again, we set the job search up by a program, and you can click on here and do customization. So this search radius is set at 5 miles. But this particular student, Mr. AAA, he likes to drive. He's a big driver. He'll drive 50 miles to work. You can set the radius at 50 miles from his home address, run a preview, make sure there's jobs with whatever changes you made. That's good. Hit save, and you're done. So now you've customized that job search. Maybe you have a student that has a whole lot of experience, and you want to put in there, maybe a supervisor role or something like that. You can put those keywords in there. So it'll go through and search all the job titles and pull out very specific keywords and populate the search with those jobs that meet those keyword criteria. Right over here, you can add additional zip codes. This works great if you have a student that is going to school, let's say in South Florida, and they want to get a job doing, I don't know, there are lots of jobs in South Florida, but they want to get a job as an ultrasound tech, but they can't find a job in South Florida, but they have their father lives in Atlanta, and there's lots of ultrasound jobs in Atlanta. You can put 5 additional zip codes for any cities across the United States. They will get an email just like this for every city, a separate email for every city in the country, all with the same functionality that when a student touches one of these jobs, engages, applies for, whatever the case may be, one of these jobs, that career service person, regardless of where they are in the country, gets this email saying that they're looking at a job, and that career service person can call them up and talk them through that job. So it's a nice tool to be able to list additional job titles, or additional zip codes rather, apologize. Programs. If a student has taken more than one program at your school, you can list the additional programs. So you just do a pull down, and here would be all your school's programs, and you can pop that in there. Emails. If a student has an official school email, they have a work email, they have a professional email, they have a weekend email, whatever the case may be, we recommend getting all that information and putting it in there, and the student will get an email with jobs on every single one of them. The more you can enforce jobs or reinforce, job search to the students, the better. The more you can kind of put that in front of them. So, try and touch with them on as many different fronts as you can, many different emails as you can, all right? Right over here, the messages tab. Now, I imagine everyone here has a very elaborate campus management system, but we put this in there for schools that, some of our smaller schools that don't necessarily have a campus management system, or it's a little hard to use, or they charge by the seat and they don't want to pay for any more seat license, whatever the case may be. This can be used as kind of a campus management light type of system here. First, and I'm going to run through these 3 links right here. Notifications. If a student, because they have access to their profile and their resume, if a student makes any changes to either their profile or their resume, the school gets notified. And what the reason for that is, if a student might go in and put up a photo for their profile that maybe just isn't job hunting appropriate, and maybe they don't know it or they don't realize it. So it's a good opportunity, for certainly a teaching moment, a learning moment, to counsel the student on what they're looking for as far as an image goes, a profile image. Also, you might have students that they're very excited. They just completed a program and they put down a salary requirement that's well out of the norm for a particular program. I'm a medical assistant and I want to make $100,000 a year to start. Well, you can't do that. They're not going to get any interviews. No employer or recruiter is going to call in somebody that wants to make 6 figures right out of school, or something like that. So you will get notified in this notifications tab if students are doing anything like that. Second part is messages. Now, we all have email. Obviously, we're all on this call. But now here's the situation. This is a good feature to have just in case you're having a conversation with a student or you happen to be in a student's file and you want to shoot them a real quick email. You can click email, send message right down here, and it'll populate a way to send an email. But the nice part about it is it will always be saved there. So you can always refer back to any particular conversation or email chain you had with a student, and you'll always be able to reference it. And that can be important if it comes down to some type of documentation issue. You know, in our world today, everything is about documentation and you know, covering you know your butt as far as, you know, what interaction does a student have? Is a student looking for a job? Did they say they don't want a job? You know, are you helping them? Are you reaching out trying to be engaging? As long as you always have those emails, that can go a long way into showing your effort, and effort goes a long way, I think, at this point with, you know, what we're trying to do to help students. The last part is notes. If you're having a particular conversation with a student and they tell you, I'm not looking for a job because I'm taking care of my grandmother, she just had her knee replaced and she's going to be out like 3 months, so I'm going to be staying with her and not looking for a job. If you make note of that, again, it's all about documentation. This could maybe be a situation where the accreditor or the WIOA audit folks or whoever, you know, counselors, whoever it might be, if you can show them documentation as to why a particular student isn't working, that can go a long way. And I understand, like I said, most schools, and certainly I imagine a lot of folks on this call have very elaborate campus management systems, but I want to touch on this for some of the smaller schools that don't. They actually kind of defer to this and use it. So we put it in there and have it available to everybody, which is, you know, is certainly good. But if you have another system, we're not, you know, lauding their, you know, touting this as something that can, you know, do away with some of those, you know, large, expansive data management systems. The last part, though, here is the reports tab, and I want to use a student that we set up here, it's a sample student, for the reports tab. And I'm going to use Kristen A, okay? I'm going to pick up, here's her information, here's her profile, job leads, messages. The last tab is the reports tab. When you click on the reports tab, you go to this little pull down here. This shows every single job sent to a particular student every day. It lists the date, the job, and the location, keeping in mind that this job title is an SOC code match, so they're all good job titles for a particular program. And it's a little easier. I'm going to bring this up in a PDF format, and I think there's lots of jobs in here, so this will take a second to upload. But you'll get the idea. Nice part about this is, and I told you my background was not in the education and proprietary education at all, so when I got into this business, a couple of things got my attention very, very quickly, not the least of which was, you know, results matter, and also the effort you put towards the results matters a whole lot. So what would happen is if a student wasn't working or something like that, it was, you know, it kept me up at night. Why, you know, a student went through all this great training. I have 10 students in a class, 9 went out and got jobs. Why can't this last student, you know, get working? Or, you know, what's the problem? You know, we need more coaching. You know, let's bring them in for another practice interview, whatever the case may be. What was particularly disheartening is if that student, and in the beginning we were just dealing with agency students, meaning like unemployment or something like that was paying for a student to come, you know, to come through our program. What would happen is if they went back to that one stop or that county office and said, why aren't you working? A couple times the student would say, that school did nothing to help me find a job. Well, that killed me. I have 2 full-time career service folks helping, you know, a fairly small population of students, and I know what we were doing was, you know, all we could possibly do, and it was kind of like, you know, and now I've got you know, somebody on the phone telling me you didn't help my client find a job. I'm like, yes, we did. We tried everything we could. So this is kind of how eHire came about in the documentation. You'll notice here this is a PDF that you can print out for every single student in your school. These reports can be worth their weight in gold, and I'll make that a little bigger for you. Again, it shows the date the job was sent, the SOC code match, the location of the job. It also has these little viewed and click tabs here. This keeps a running total every single day of every job sent to every student. Now, let's scroll down here. I want to see what I can find. Right here. Okay. What happens is, back on July 12th, this student applied for a job right there. Boom. Well, here she opened their email, she looked at these jobs, she applied for that job. It keeps a running total, and it's not going to catch up with me because I'm scrolling down too fast, but we'll get the idea here. We pull it up. This student received 1,128 jobs, viewed 8, applied for 1 job. Okay, 15-page report. Oh, let me bring this back in the middle here. 15-page report of every job sent to her. This is worth its weight in gold. Because from here on in, once you have these reports, no student can ever say to you again, that school did nothing to help me find a job. Because right then and there, that is completely off the table. You have documented in as the most precise way possible the date, the location, and the exact job title that was delivered to every single student. eHired works, and the nice part about this is every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And what schools are finding, and I think part of our success is, once students know that you guys as school administrators know everything they are doing as far as their job search goes, you're going to notice that they start looking at a whole lot more jobs, because you can't put up any roadblocks from a student's perspective. You have to look at jobs because they know that I'm getting them every day and I need to start looking at them. Kind of a best practice, a little sidebar is the second a student enrolls, or the day the student enrolls, the first day of class when they come in, I rather should say, the first day of class, put them in the database to start receiving job leads. It's a great way that while they're in your building, they can start getting used to these are the jobs that are available, these are the market conditions, this is the pay. It kind of helps with those expectations. So when the student graduates and gets done that program, it's not like, well, I'm going to start looking for a job later, or, oh, I didn't think that this is what the jobs were available, or whatever the case may be. It's a great way, and also to keep an eye on what students' job activities are. Different schools run, whenever they meet with a student, they'll print off these reports if they're going to sit down and have a career service session with a student. Let's go over your resume, but first let's print this out and see what you're doing as far as your job search is going. We have it set up a couple different ways also with these reports. We call these our WIOA compliance reports. There can also be accreditation compliance reports. These, like I said, are very, very important to your daily operation. Having this in your pocket, you can save these electronically, print them out, like I said, for every single student in the building. You can see what's going on. We have a couple features that we spread off there that are very important to a school. The first one is, I call them, they are our WIOA compliance reports. What that means is if you have, and I'm going to use this as an example here, here's a student, or here's a counselor from our local county here in New Jersey. Here are a list of some students that attended ASI, and this was actually like a live email. Here are a list of students. He can click on and see any of those students, how they're doing on their job search, or at least see what job opportunities were sent to them. So which is a great way to be able to keep in touch with your WIOA counselors that are referring students to you. Every week they are going to get a report just like this, that shows every single job sent to every single one of their clients. They get it every Monday morning. They get all the jobs sent to them in the last 7 days and all the jobs sent to them since they've been at your school. It takes it takes that completely off the table, any chance of anyone saying that school did nothing to help X, Y, and Z find a job, because here's documented proof of all the help you're doing to help students find a job. Every single day, the job leads are sent out. If you had to pay somebody to go through an entire, go through all the students in your database, match up all the jobs by SOC code, email them out to the students, and then document, just like this, every job sent, it would be a full-time job for 10, 15 people, depending on how large your school is. This software does this every day automatically without you even knowing it. It frees up so much time to meet with students, meet with vendors, whoever you want to sit down and talk to. It frees up time because the job leads are going out every single day. Let me log back in here. I just logged out real quick. But anyway, that is the main idea of what eHired does. It documents all your career service efforts, which is huge. It helps immensely. It's just a good thing to do. Let me log back in here real quick. I just accidentally logged out. Do this, go over here. So I think we're going to open this up to questions. Let me shut off the recording though, just so you guys can feel free to ask questions without having to feel like you're being put on the spot or anything. Okay, so we're going to shut off the recording. I will send a copy of this recording, this webinar, to everybody so you can all get an idea of what the services are. I'm trying to think if I missed anything here. I did the reports. I did the resumes. I think that is it. This is, oh, you know what? I did not touch on prospective students. Let me do this real quick here. what you can do, and this is more from an admissions standpoint, and it helps manage expectations with students. And this is something what you can do if you wish. If you have a student comes to your school and they meet with admissions, they take a walk through the program, and well, I'm on the fence. I don't really know if I want to be a medical assistant or a truck driver or whatever that case may be. You could put them in as a prospective student, with the idea being that they can see the jobs that actual graduates are getting and looking at to see if maybe it's something, these jobs are only paying, $11 an hour. So I want to go to school where I can make $20 an hour or whatever the case may be. It gives them a real world, and it's not coming from you guys because we're pulling them from job boards all across the country. It's not like you're trying to, cherry pick and show them the best case scenario, because these are just regular jobs that are available in their community. That match kind of what they went to school for. So it's a good way to kind of give the student a real life perspective on job opportunities that are available without, without being, pushy about it or anything like that. Like here's what's available, if you do ever, want to give us a call or something like that. And the nice part about that is every email that goes out, you can put your school's logo or whatever it is across the top, so they can, there seems to be a lot of jobs for this in my neighborhood. I think I'm going to give that school a call back up or something along those lines. But it's a great way to just manage that expectations of a prospective student, that they know what they're getting themselves into prior to actually enrolling in school. And none of us want to mislead a student or anything like that. That's, that's very short-sighted, and it gives our industry a bad name. So that, maybe by putting them in as a prospective student and and letting them know what the market is, what the pay is, that kind of stuff, by real employers, not you guys coming up with a number or something like that. They can actually see for real what's going on in the world. That is a good thing. Trying to think. I'm going to open this up for questions right now. Let me shut off the recording and let's go with some questions.